All right, hello everyone. My name is Steve Jane. I want to welcome everybody to this week's growth call. We have these calls every week on Thursday at this time to talk about how Bisq has been doing and what we can do to help Bisq grow even further, volume and liquidity going forward. The Hangouts link should be in the chat box to the right. If you'd like to join in on the Hangout and join the conversation, you're more than welcome. If you would like to send comments and questions on the YouTube chat, that's perfectly fine too, and we'll do our best to cover them as we go on. I'd like to extend a special welcome to those who are new. This is your first growth call. Welcome. If you're new to Bisq in general, we like to think about Bisq as the only true decentralized Bitcoin exchange that allows you to trade Bitcoin for national currencies and vice versa, or Bitcoin for other cryptocurrencies without losing control of your funds, of your Bitcoin, and without having to give your personal information, sensitive information to any central server or company. All of it always stays on your computer. And yeah, if you'd like more details on how it all works, we have some videos on our YouTube channel that we can I can put a link to in the description, and some more written documentation on the website. So here today on the call, we have some familiar faces and I guess one new face. We have Manfred and Christoph. Welcome. And we have Aruna. I guess I don't know if you've joined one of our calls before. Would you like to maybe introduce yourself and maybe talk a little bit about what you've done so far?
Hi, everybody. My name is Aruna Surya, and I'm a contributor to Bisq. And I'm here to learn about Bisq and help in any way I can, which is through educational videos, translations, and things like that. So I'm really excited to be here, and yes.
Cool. Yeah, thanks, Aruna. Aruna and so Aruna and Manfred together did a video series called the Vista Basics that kind of starts at the beginning. If you're not too familiar with how Bitcoin itself works, goes through some of the basics of how a transaction works and how Bitcoin works, and onto more Bisq-specific topics about how Bisq works and how the Bisq DAO works. Highly encourage you to check that out. It's a playlist, a separate playlist on the Bisq channel called the Vista Basics. So yeah, definitely encourage you to check that out. As far as this call goes, the agenda is on GitHub. We, as always, want to cover a little bit about the markets and how volume has been on Bisq over the past few days. So we want to cover that. Want to cover, where did my list go? 1 second here. Sorry. So we want to cover that. We want to cover some items that I've been seeing on Twitter with regards to transacting Bitcoin in India. There was some news about that I think might be interesting for Bisq growth in India. And then, yeah, so for contributors and other users on the call, I want to talk about testing the Bisq DAO, which is something very important that we have to make sure that we do over the next few weeks. So let's get right into the market update. So yeah, I mean, I think volume's been pretty strong throughout this month. It's hard to tell because I think the last 3 months of 2018 were so strong. It looks like we're on track. We're at, I guess, halfway through the month right now. We're at about a little over $2 million, $2.3 million US dollars in volume. So on track to probably doing $4.5, maybe a little bit more $1 million of USD volume for this month of January, which would be a little bit short of where we were last month. But yeah, again, it was such a high number the past 3 months that I think it's still pretty good. Want to give a special shout out, or what you want to call it, to Grin. So Grin, I guess, is kind of a lightning bolt of controversy on Bitcoin Twitter. Some people love it, some people hate it. Whatever you think of it, it just went live on mainnet 2 days ago, and I think Bisq was probably the first exchange to list it, to allow it for trading. And we're already seeing quite good activity. As of right now, I think there are, looks like 20 offers right now to buy and sell Grin. So, I mean, quite a good order book for, a 2-day-old cryptocurrency that's got a lot of a lot of activity. So it's good. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Sorry, Steve. Regarding the monthly prediction, I just had a look at the chart. Sure. The total volume might be lower. So as you said, we might reach about 4 million. But the daily average trades, the number of trades, won't be a lot less than we saw the month before. So at the moment, I think it's 76 trades in average, and the month before we had 81, and the month before 75. So maybe if the month picks up again, we might even see 80 trades in average. So yeah, the volume is less, but the trading activity luckily is quite high again.
Yeah, I think that's actually a very good point.
It seems that we get a lot of new users, and that might explain it, that we have more trades with smaller amounts. Usually new users are trying out and need a while until they are doing heavier trading. And we see also a lot of offers. I think today I saw something like 340 offers. I don't remember to have seen so many offers at all. In the past, it was usually around 200, a little bit above 200. And it might be also come from not only Grin, as last week or 2 weeks ago we added Beam, which is also similar, as both are Mimblewimble implementations with a little bit different flavors. Beam is a company-based project. Grin is a completely open source project, so they have a little bit different directions, but the technology is very similar. Both are very exciting. Both are very early days and experimental in some way. But we see, or at least with Beam, we know that it's traded very heavily because we get dispute cases with some complexities with this new form of transaction. Because with Mimblewimble transactions, it's an interactive form where when you want to send somebody a Beam or a Grin, the other user either has to be online or have to be online at least in a certain time, because the transaction is created interactively. So it's a little bit a learning curve. And of course, there are some troubles with this in the early days, but we are very happy that both coins are traded on Bisq already. With Grin, I think I've seen something like 7 trades, so I'm not 100% sure. There have been a little bit of confusion about the first 2 trades. Also the first I did in 2 weeks ago when we added it before the release as a test trade. Of course, that didn't count. And directly at the launch, there was also a trade, and it was not possible to transfer Grin in this time. So some users had also made a test trade. But the other trades in the meantime, yeah, since I think today, 3 o'clock, it's transferable. And it seems that there are real trades on some exchanges. There's already going on a lot of volume. But yeah, hopefully we are those people who are interested in those privacy coins, hopefully they will discover that this is the right exchange to use it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it looks like 7 trades on Grin and something like 71 on Beam. So lots of activity there. Yeah, so I guess the next item, testing the DAO. I want to make sure we emphasize this early and strongly. I think if you are familiar with the idea of the DAO and what we're trying to accomplish with it in Bisq, it's absolutely critical that probably everybody on this call, if you're a contributor, and if not, if you're a power user, then you're also more than welcome to test the DAO on testnet. So This is kind of going to be integral to the way Bisq is run when it's when the DAO is when it actually goes live on mainnet, and it's critical that we make the software as robust as possible right now before it's released to 10,000 other users. So right now, I think we're in a voting phase. So it's kind of the time to make proposals is over, but you can still go on and get some BSQ and vote on the proposals that have already been made, and participate in that process. But in general, I think even if you've already I kind of slacked off a little bit because I made a few proposals in December a couple of times, and but keep doing it. Change your inputs, make a different kind of proposal. There's other elements that you can test as well. In addition to governance, there's bonding for roles and for reputation. There's asset listing fees and proof of burn. There's a few other functions aside from the straight voting and making a proposal that you can test. Just try to, I guess, just be as much of a jerk as you can. Users do all kinds of crazy things. Just like I said, change your inputs, click things that you don't think were meant to be clicked. I don't know. Evaluate the user interface. Are you confused at any points? Are the inputs and outputs, do they all look right? Just evaluate it as thoroughly as you can. Just because you don't get an error doesn't mean that that everything is just fine. So I'll be being a little more proactive about kind of nudging people to do this on Slack, because I know it's something that can kind of slip through the cracks. So I'll be doing that. But if folks could do that, help us out with that would be, I'm sure the developers and everybody will appreciate that quite a bit. So I don't know if anyone has anything to add.
Maybe a small note for those who have used the DAO in the last weeks and who run into issues because there have been a bug and that's fixed now. But if you have the old data directory where still some data are corrupted on the forum, there is a link how to resolve this, but it's not 100% clear if you can 100% resolve it. So the easiest way is when you still have issues that you are renaming the testnet directory inside of the data directory of Bisq. There are all the data, and then you would start over new again. You're losing your BSQ, but you can ask for new BSQ on Slack or on the forum. That's easy, as I have already quite a backlog of investigating issues from some users, and I'm not sure when I can work through all of those. It's very important for me already, of course, to find out what are the issues, why it was not cleaned out by itself like it should. But yeah, there are many other things to do as well. So I don't want that people are losing time because this is still not 100% working. So with the new version, everything should work. With the current proposals, I've seen that one user managed to find a UI bug where he could, I don't know exactly how he did it, but he somehow published 3 times the same proposal. It's probably just a UI issue, but don't be surprised about this. That's the thing what I hope that you all find out by testing it and by pulling it to the limits, and so that we get rid of all these issues before we go live.
Yeah, I think it was mentioned on the call last week that the code base for the DAO is actually bigger than the rest of the trading protocol and the software, which is incredible. I mean, it's not just a small addition to Bisq. It's actually a pretty big deal, and it needs a lot of testing. So, yep. Hopefully everybody can help us with that. What else? Okay. One other thing I wanted to talk about, I saw some tweets about this or been seeing some tweets about this on Twitter over the past few days. It turns out that there have been some developments in India. Some banks have been sending their customers notices that if they engage in trades related to cryptocurrencies or Bitcoin in particular, that they will, without warning, shut down their accounts. And I don't think there's been any official announcement, but there's been several tweets about this. There's screenshots of letters that people have been sent to this effect. And so as a result, I saw, because I have the Bisq keyword kind of real-time stream of that, I saw several people mention Bisq as an alternative that people can use to acquire Bitcoin if they live in India and have this issue. And so I just thought it might be cool. I think we've only had one trade with Indian rupees so far, but I just thought it'd be kind of cool to have some kind of an initiative to push Bisq growth, bootstrapping Bisq growth in India. I guess we've had liquidity events in other areas. I don't know how exactly this one could look. If anyone has any ideas, I guess what I have in my mind is that, I mean, I've been to India a couple of times. It's kind of where my family's from, and it's a very dense place. So there's a lot of people in one place, and particularly in the New Delhi and Mumbai cities. And face-to-face trading is something we have now in Bisq and doesn't require banks. And there seems to be a pretty healthy number of meetups. I was just looking earlier today. There's a lot of meetups, thousands of people, Bitcoin-specific meetups in those two cities. And I don't know, maybe we can have, like, if we reach out to a few of these meetups and do webinars, just talking about what is Bisq and how it can help folks over there, maybe take 3 or 4 weeks and hit maybe 15 or 20 of these meetups. And then at the end of this meetup campaign, have a liquidity day or a week or whatever to really bootstrap this market and see if we can get something going.
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic idea. If you have any contacts, maybe let's just get it started, and especially with going to the meetups, boosting the peer-to-peer trades, the face-to-face trades. And I think I've never been in India, but I've been in Sri Lanka once, and I had the impression that that the economy is much more decentralized and peer-to-peer, like it is in other places in Europe and America, because it's much more normal that people are doing their small business and interacting directly, and the government is quite far out at the end. And I think it's a much more natural fit, and when our face-to-face would work there and would get bootstrapped there, it would be great, because as we see in the other countries, it's a very tiny minority. We don't have many face-to-face trades, because probably it's one problem is that you need bigger cities where you have the where the coincidence of once can happen, that a seller and a trader are living in the same city and want to trade at the same time, more or less, and so on. And yeah, it would be a great idea to try to boost something there. I think probably it only will work when we get some contact to local communities that they are helping to bootstrap it. But with meetups, I think it's the best way to try to get in contact, make a presentation there, and then it's up to them to get the ball more rolling. Okay, yeah, I'll try to forge some contacts. I mean, I don't know anybody specifically in the Bitcoin community there, but I don't. It's not hard to get in touch with people in charge of running meetups, so I can certainly try to do that. Cool. Well, I guess, I mean, as far as those are the topics that I had planned to discuss. Does anyone else have any other items they'd like to touch on? Maybe a small thing. I made 2 proposals regarding the asset listing. The current situation is not satisfying at all. We're getting a lot of assets listed. Usually 90% are never traded at all, so it's just lost time. We are requesting from the asset issuer or whoever want to list an asset that they make a pull request with address validation. It's usually very simple, as I've done it myself for Grin and Beam, and I've seen the basic what you need to do is really done in 3 minutes. Really no challenge at all, but most of those developers fail to do this in the correct way, and then it's a back and forth, and it's really time consuming, and for reviewing and then for merging and so on. So we want to get rid of this. So the first step will be that we are removing these requirements for the pull request, and we do it ourselves because that's at the end less effort for us. And so we need to update the documentation for this. but anybody who wants to list an asset only need to create an issue on GitHub. With we're adding a template, so you have to use this template and fill in the very basic information that the name, the ticker, block explorer, and that it's not an ICO coin. And then at any time, there is no guarantee when a Bisq developer has time and want to work on this and want to merge it in, they do it. Of course, when you don't want to wait so long, you can do it yourself with, like it is now, a pull request, but it has to be a quality pull request and not one which requires 5 times back and forth until it's mergeable. And yeah, that's the one thing that's already accepted this proposal, and we discussed a little bit about this. And the second one, which is still in discussion and a broader proposal, and which has still some open questions and issues, is that we are removing completely the way how we are listing assets at the moment. And it would be then that anybody could add any asset, which will open a few problems, like, for instance, squattering. Somebody could add all kind of ticker symbols and assign it to whatever bullshit. But yeah, in the proposal, there are the solutions for all these problems. A main open problem is the legal uncertainty, especially with ICO coins. And also when we would allow it that the user can basically add any coin by themselves, there will be a small registration process in the application where you actually only add the name and the ticker symbol, and maybe there are information that there is no extra requirement that you can look up the transaction in the block explorer. That's required for the arbitrators. Otherwise, the coin need to support the system to prove the transfer, like with Monero. Yeah, also it's very, very simple then to add a coin. To avoid that we get spammed by thousands or 10,000s of coins, there will be a listing fee. And there will be the option that we can remove a coin when it's, for instance, when somebody starts to squat and make a ticker symbol. Like with Green or Beam, everybody knew that was coming. When there would have been some crap coin which would have taken the ticker symbol, we would have kicked it out. And we still have then the option in the DAO voting to remove an altcoin when it's a clear scam coin or whatever. But it's basically then in the hand of the user. What the UI need a little bit of adoption changes, that you don't get a list of 10,000 coins. So you will type in whatever coin you're interested. We have it already when you are registering an altcoin account. There's a search field where you type in Monero and MO, and then you see everything which fits there. You see Monero, for instance. And I think with that, you have basically a good management, that you're not spammed with 100,000 coins. You can make your own list of preferred coin, like it is at the moment already. So when you're looking in the offers or so, you only see the list of those coins, what you're interested in. And the only main open question is how we deal with this legal risks. So when ICO coins would come en masse to Bisq or any other scam coins which are really criminal, we don't want to get into any legal troubles here or add any legal risk for Bisq and for the users and the contributors. So that's not 100% clear how we deal and if there is a good solution for this problem. Another important thing is that the user cannot only for himself define what he wants to see, but he also, I would like also to add the feature that he can basically block coins what he really don't want to support. And by that, he's as a network node, because every Bisq application is a network node which is relaying offers. And I personally would not like to support certain type of coins which represent certain type of politics, which is absolutely contrary to my thinking. And when I run my Bisq node, I don't want that with my Bisq node is supporting this. So I want to have the possibility to stop it here. I don't want to force others. They can do whatever they want, but my node doesn't want to support a Donald Trump coin, for instance. And by that, also when there would be then a feature where you have basically a blacklist where you say, okay, I don't want to have that and that and that coin supported from my node. And when you get an offer with such a coin, you would not forward it, you would just ignore it. All the other, when the majority of the Bisq users are supporting this, then it gets distributed. when the majority of Bisq users would not support this, then it will be hard for those to get distributed offers, because when there are very few nodes, it will not be flooded in the network. So that's the basic ideas. I mean, this idea came actually with a discussion with Steve, what we had a while ago, about some political topics with censorship and so on. And it made them more clear to me that this way that we are kind of like, providing this list of coins and be this this police who is adding coins and not adding coins. I mean, we try to be as objective as possible, and then with DAO voting we can make majority decisions, but we are still forcing the minority to something what the majority thinks, and that's also problematic as well. And I think the only way to deal with all these problems is to put the censorship in the hand of the user. I think you cannot avoid censorship because you get flooded with information, and you need to decide what you want to hear and what you want to listen and what not. And I think that's the right of everybody to shut the door. But it should be in the hand of the single user and not of a platform or of operator of or even of a majority of the platform. So I think the right approach on the social media side is Twitter's approach, where you decide who you're following or whom you're blocking or muting, and the wrong approach is Reddit, where you have a moderator, and then the moderator gets all the crap and the hard work to keep the conversation or somehow in some limits, and that causes all of the troubles what we know. So if you're interested in these topics, feel free to add your opinions or whatever to those proposals. I said the first simple proposal to not require the pull requests anymore is already accepted and will be implemented soon. The second one will not be implemented soon anyway, because we don't have the dev resources. And there is especially this open legal, this open point regarding the legal risks with ICO coins and so on. And maybe somebody has a good idea for regarding this. Maybe it resolves by itself because the legal situation become clearer over time, and whatever, we'll see.
Yeah, it sounds good. I think I like this approach of allowing users more control. All right. Does anyone else have anything left to say? I guess I'll maybe wait a few seconds for folks to send stuff on chat.
Manfred, just just one little thing regarding Grin. Manfred, what's the advised approach? What URL to set? So we do support Greenbox URL, also Greenbox IDs, and just IP and port as an Grin address to be able to connect the wallets with each other. Shall we add Greenbox as a protocol before the Greenbox ID, or just use the ID itself?
So Greenbox supports many different versions of their address with a key. I think the key is the only mandatory part, and then an IP or a port or a domain or a username or whatever. I think it's documented there, as I implemented it according to, or the validation I implemented according to that what he sent me, the lead developer there. As it's recommended to use the Greenbox format. I didn't have time yet to really set up my own Grin application or wallet and play around with it. So I don't know really much about Grin so far. I played a little bit around with Beam. I think it's the same that you have to be either online or at least online in the next few hours. Otherwise, the message gets lost. I don't know exactly how it works with Greenbox, but at least with Beam, we had a lot of issues that when the receiver was not online, then the send failed, and then people opened up a dispute and so on. Usually it always got solved, and a few trades got cancelled, but most are worked out, and later when both have been online. They also released new version, I think yesterday, so everybody should update always the latest version. There are a lot of bug fixes, and it's very early days and very experimental still. Also, I myself had quite a lot of troubles to get the transaction completed, and so it's don't be surprised when you run into troubles with this new technology. But of course, the early bird will get something back maybe. It's super exciting technology, so I'm super happy that we are supporting both. With Green, there is still, also with Beam, also with the latest version, there is a possibility to prove the transfer. I still have not looked very close how it works exactly. We never had a problem so far in the dispute, as far as I heard. But yeah, it's similar like with Monero. The sender of the currency need to be able to prove that he is sent when there would be a real dispute, that one is claiming that he has sent and the other claims that he has not received it. With Green, I'm not 100% sure if that exists already. I've seen that there's a pull request, but it's still in discussion and a little bit unclear to me what's the situation. So I hope they will, when it's not already there, that it will be soon supported as well, because otherwise we might need to deactivate it because it's then too unsafe at the end. I think in these early days there are usually developers trying out this, and luckily we have very honest users, so we didn't have a problem, even if there is a little bit of a risk at the moment. But when we would get a real issue, we would need to deactivate it. So I hope they can fix this soon, and we are probably not the only one who need this. So it's probably every exchange, nearly everybody would need to have kind of like a proof of the sending. Otherwise, you always have conflicts. Yeah, I think that's from my side.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, just general thanks, Steve, for taking over this call. And maybe in the future, you could do more growth calls like that. That would be great help. So yeah, thanks a lot. It helps. Yeah, everyone who contributes to the Bisq network helps a lot. And yeah, decentralization only works if it's just not a couple of people, but many people who are working on the same project. Yeah, and we're on a good way, but still, if you're interested in watching this, just join Slack, and we have so many roles. I think there's a flavor for everyone who wants to contribute and help to grow the Bisq network. So thanks.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and for everyone else, like Christoph said, there's Slack for conversation. There's Bisq.community, the forum, and then of course GitHub. You can reach us in any of those places. Yeah, so I guess that's it for now. I want to thank everyone for joining, and we'll see you back here next week.
Maybe I feel like I could make a quick announcement for next week. We plan to talk about the new trade protocol. There is a proposal out where it's more or less in detail explained, but I think it's not well known yet, or not many people have heard about it and so on. So we want to spread this information, how this will work, and it's basically planned after the DAO. As soon as the DAO is out and stable, it should be released. So people are already working on the implementation, and maybe we could use this. I really like that the growth calls that we are getting different hosts for the growth calls. And maybe we can continue this a little bit to ask Nyman, for instance. He's one of the, in the team of the people who are implementing this. If he would like to be the host for the next growth call and make this as the main topic for the next growth call, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I think having a collection of voices to address the different areas of Bisq and Bisq growth would be a great idea.
Yeah, I think it's great. Great idea. Yeah.
I will ask him. I don't know yet if he has time, but if he is available, would be nice. And maybe Aruna, if you want to be the host for an upcoming growth call, would be great as well.
Sure. Maybe after a few growth calls, just
yeah, sure.
Get a feel for it. Yeah.
Cool.
Cool. Anything else? So I guess Ravi, I just want to quickly mention, I think Ravi just joined just a few minutes ago. He said that he's tried to buy BTC on Bisq a few times, but there were no sellers. I think we might have spoken about this before you joined. We kind of briefly outlined an initiative that we're going to take to try to bootstrap a market in India. So hopefully those sellers and buyers will come. And if you're interested in maybe helping out, then check us out on Slack and reach out, and maybe we can collaborate to get something going.
Yeah, and for those users who don't see any offer, just create your offer. That's help. I mean, it's a chicken and egg problem at the beginning, or many people are coming and nobody sees an offer and everybody's leaving. When you're the first who are creating 3 offers, the next might take your offer and then the market starts. And it also took its time on the other currencies. It's not easy to get the market bootstrap, but yeah, somebody needs to start with it.
Definitely. Yeah. All right. Well, if that's it, then thanks again, everyone, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you, Steve.
All right. Yep. Take
Thanks.
care.
Bye.
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 Thanks.